Okay, can you please introduce yourself? What is your full name?
Andrew Mackie-Smith. I'm from Inndox.
Inndox. And are you the founder of Inndox?
I'm the co-founder. So
Okay.
my wife Trish and I founded Inndox.
Okay, and how long have you had Inndox for?
Yeah, so we officially launched, I suppose, in 2017 we got started, but we really haven't launched till about a year ago. So
Okay.
we've been going for about a year.
A year. That's pretty new.
Yeah, it's a new company.
Exciting?
That's right. Very. Every day is different in the startup. Yeah.
And what were you doing before Inndox?
Before Inndox, I still run a company called Building Pro,
Okay.
and we're building and pest inspectors. So we do residential and commercial
Okay.
building inspections across the Greater Brisbane area.
Okay, and how long have you been in that career for?
A long time.
A long time.
See the
So
grey
very-
hair? Yeah, long time.
Very experienced. Okay,
Um,
so is that,
17 years in Brizzy and 30 plus years overall.
wow, that's pretty amazing. Congratulations. That's a long
Well,
time to be
longevity,
doing something.
longevity, yeah.
And so was Building Pro your building and pest business? Was that
Yeah.
where this idea came from? Can you tell us a little bit about the story of how Inndox is formed, and then we'll talk about what it is?
Sure. So as we were building consultants helping people, we realised that a lot of people we were doing inspections for example, someone's buying a house and we would go out and do the inspection, and the house might have a carport and a swimming pool and a deck and some alterations. And the person buying the house would ask me, have all these things been approved? Do they all comply? I'd say, well, look, I don't know. You have to get your solicitor to do a search. And so they go to the solicitor, and the solicitor would say, well, we've searched council records and we can find no approval for the house because it's too old. There is an approval for the swimming pool, but there's no final, and nothing else, there's no record of it. And by the time the person would get that information out of council, the building and pest clause had already expired.
Wow.
So these sort of issues and more made me and there was one other thing that really stood out, and that was when we would go and do a brand new build, and we do a lot of inspections on new builds, we'd go out there and the person would, I'd open the kitchen drawer, of course checking the drawers and everything. I'd look inside and there'd be warranties and manuals and maybe some plans, and that was the handover from the builder.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they give a folder or a USB stick. And I thought, how easy is it for that to be lost? And sure enough, I do inspection for someone buying a house that was 2 years old, or 5 years old, still under warranty from the builder, but they don't have no plans were given to them, no specifications, no warranties, no manuals on how to work in a thing. They didn't have any information. And some of that's available at council, but a lot isn't.
Yeah.
So I really thought that was bad, that people would buy such an expensive asset and not be given all the complete records that go with it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy when you think about it.
It is.
Probably is the single biggest thing people will ever buy, and it's just like a bunch of paper in a drawer.
That's it. And then you ask around, and we thought about our own rental properties and realised we've got a few, and we realised that our property manager had information, our solicitor had some, and the bank had some, and the council had information,
Yeah.
and we had information in folders and attached to emails, and we realised that the information was really all over the place, and we didn't really have it centralised and in our control.
Yeah.
So that caused other issues too in trying to manage your property.
Okay, so Inndox has been formed from issues that you found just through the building process and through property management.
Yeah, and exactly, just through property management issues at this time of sale. And we've always had a thing about seller disclosure.
Yeah.
My wife Trish has been a long time proponent of more seller disclosure, and for example, in the ACT, if you buy a property there, you get, as a buyer, for free, you'll get provided a building report, a pest report, an asbestos report, a compliance report from the council to show that everything's been built there, any improvements have approval, and also an energy audit report. And all that you'll get provided to you free of charge for you to consider when buying the property.
Yeah.
And we think that's awesome.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. You're buying such an expensive asset. Why wouldn't you get that sort of disclosure? And then we looked into it, and in Queensland there's a far more limited amount of disclosure on the part of sellers. And so people are buying properties that might be flood prone or have asbestos or illegal alterations, and now people are looking at buying apartments and they're not sure whether the cladding is safe, or whether there's cracks and leaks and other issues. And again, it's all up to them to do those investigations in a very short time frame when they're buying, and that puts a lot of pressure, and it's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's already such an emotional process, and then to like throw that into the mix where you've got to try and find all this information, and some people go, oh, we have it, or we only have part of the information, or now you've got to pay another $500, like council will charge you to get a lot of the building records back from them. It's a bit much. It's
a bit much, and for people that have commercial properties, the problems get even more intense because they have to maintain, fire safety things. And so I'd go and inspect, say, a commercial property, and you'd go to the cleaner's cupboard, and there's a little folder in there for the, maintenance of the fire emergency exit signs, or maybe for the fire extinguishers. And so it's all kept in paper form on site, so that can be easily lost. The technician comes out and might update something about the air conditioning, but the property manager doesn't know that it's been updated, and the building manager doesn't know, the owners don't know. And then how does that information get recorded and kept and passed on to the next owner? So
there's a real issue here.
There's an issue,
and it's a problem that I guess most people nationwide would have. I'd imagine, like you're saying, ACT are pretty good with their sellers, so they've probably got to have a bit of information, but is there a system that they have at the moment?
No,
so
there's not a system.
There's no system. Okay, so what does Inndox do?
So what Inndox does is we provide, so they do have a system, I should say, for doing the inspections, but they don't have a way of keeping that in any central place. So every time that house gets sold, they go through the same process. So if it was sold 2 months later, they just have to commission it all again because it's not kept anywhere centrally. So the government actually has recognised there's a problem, and so the building ministers from each state get together annually, and they've commissioned a report. They called it the Building Confidence Report, and in that report made 24 recommendations. And one of those is recommendation 12, and that says that every council jurisdiction needs to ensure that that there's a central repository, digital, for all the development records. So this is what, and they've called this best practice. So it's not yet law, but this is what councils all across Australia are working towards. So you could expect that in the next few years, maybe the next 5 to 10 years, that will become a requirement, hopefully sooner. And another recommendation is recommendation 20, and that is that every builder or developer, when they do a commercial property, so it could be apartment building or any commercial property, they actually need to hand over the records to the owner in digital form and be able to make that available to successive owners. So that is now officially considered best practice. So the government is moving in that direction. They haven't legislated yet, but I think that's coming. And so what we've done, we've actually built a product that can meet the government requirement and can start with a builder or property developer. Instead of giving a USB stick or a paper folder or using Dropbox, they can now give an app to each owner. So they simply drag and drop the files in there, and then when the person settles on the property, it comes to practical completion, they make their payment, they give them the keys or access to the electronic lock if it is, and then they just say, well, here's your app. We've just sent you an email. They just log in, create a password and save it, and then they can log in and they can see all of their warranties and manuals and certificates and approvals. But then people go, hang on mate, we've got Dropbox. Haven't you heard of that? We already have that. Well, it's not just the documents. The builder can simply set up some reminders and alerts. So if I'm an owner, I'm not going to read that stuff the builder gives me anyway because I'm too busy. Everyone's too busy these days. No one's going to actually go in and open it all up and read what they have to do. Too busy, too much paperwork. So what the builder can do is now set up, or developer can set up an alert for the owner telling them what they have to do when. So if let's say I buy an apartment and I move in, I can get an alert comes up and it says, welcome to your new apartment from the developer, welcoming you. It can say, here's your details for your, your passcodes to get in and information. And if you've got a question, you can ask it. Then, so it helps them move in. If they needed to look at the manual for the how to use the dishwasher or the aircon, they can look that up. If there's a problem with an appliance, they've got details of the appliance and the manual and the warranty. And then when the warranty is due to expire, they get a reminder. So 2 years later, it says, hey, your warranty is going to expire on your dishwasher. Just to let you know, heads up. And then so you've got an opportunity, if it's not working, to make a claim and know it's under warranty.
Not a day later when you're like, oh, it hasn't been working for 2 weeks and
damn. Exactly, whoops. And we've all done it, right?
Definitely.
So that was one part. And the other thing is maintenance reminders. So a lot of people don't know, for example, they have to clean out the aircon, clean the vents out, open it up and take that little filter out and wash it, or maybe clean the filter on their range hood. For safety reasons even. So getting an alert and saying, hey, you need to do this, and then you've got the manual there so you know what to do. That's really handy. Yeah,
no, that's super handy. Okay, so the developer can set that up, but I imagine that it's also handy for a property owner. They can set their own, even if my house wasn't new, I could go in to Inndox, I could start putting in the documents I do have, and then I can start setting reminders for these things like pest inspections, like the air conditioning. Is that all pretty easy?
It is. Look, it is super easy.
We'll go through it a bit soon with the screenshot, but
it is really easy to use. People do say that. Always they try it and then say it's actually really easy, and we're like, yeah, of course we made it easy. The thing there's quite a few other features too that we've built. One of the main things is that it can transfer to other owners. Okay. So that's the thing.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So if you're a property owner, yes, you can just set up your own account. And the reason why you would do it is because if you think about it, if you can keep all the records in one place, you're then making it easier for the next person to own and manage that property. And if someone's going to look at whether they purchase your house or they purchase, another competing property that's on the market, they might look at your house and think, okay, well, this one, the seller has said to me, they've got all the records of swimming pool approval, the deck approval, the carport, I can see that. So the real estate agent can share the Inndox at the time of the due diligence. So the buyer gets it under contract. The agent says, have a look at the Inndox. The buyer simply gets it shared with them. They take a look and go, oh, I can see all the approvals. That makes me feel comfortable about spending my money to buy this house. I can see a contacts list. So I've got the name of the guy that cleans the pool. I've got the name of the person that cleans the gutters, cleans the windows, cleans the house, maybe the handyman, the painter, the aircon person. All those contacts are listed there. So if you were coming into, say, Brisbane and you lived interstate or overseas, you wouldn't have to hunt around to try and find people to keep your property maintained. You've got all those records there, and you've got the plans and the manuals, and everything's just there. It just really makes a lot of sense to me.
It's so surprising this hasn't been done earlier.
It is. There are some products that do a similar thing in the States, but not quite the same.
Okay. Is that just because they have a different system over there?
They have a different system. Some of them are focused on appliances and just recording all the appliances, and recording the documents is a kind of ancillary thing. Not many of them focus as we do on Inndox really being a due diligence platform. Okay. So I was going to say, it might be a bit of speculation, but do you think people would pay more money for a house with Inndox records? Well, or maybe it would settle quicker? Well, that's the bet we're having, right?
My partner at the moment is looking for a car, and he'll be looking at two different cars. The one that has all the records might have more Ks on it, be a bit more expensive, but I know that the one that has no records is like, well, it's a bit of an unknown. Exactly. Yeah, it's still standing. Yeah, it's still there. I can see it, but you don't actually know what's happened or who's had it.
That's right. And look, it was on the TV the other day. People bought a car at an online auction, and the car comes off the delivery, and the panels have been stuck on with silicone, and there's dents, and it was it was pretty dodgy. Well, you can buy a house at auction with unconditional.
Yeah.
And you can buy it sight unseen, and that's allowed. You're allowed to go and spend $1 million to buy a house that's a wreck, that floods, that has illegal extension on it. You're allowed to buy that. That the law says that's okay. Whereas you can't go and buy a pair of jeans that are dodgy. You'd be allowed to take them back.
Oh my goodness.
And you can't buy a car, a second-hand car. You can take it back, but with a house, no, you own it.
Yeah.
So we feel
Who
that.
made these laws?
I think it was made by wealthy aristocrats in the 1500s, and we need a bit of an update.
Yeah.
You know, society's we got a bit more sophisticated, and we realise we need to be fairer. So if you ask me, will owners be bothered putting all this together? I think just think about what the value would be to a prospective buyer, and that you're making an investment in your time to put it together. And people overestimate how long it takes. Sure, an hour or two of your time, but once it's set up, it's pretty awesome. And you can actually set up what we call auto Inndox for emails to automatically drop in there. So if you've got a rental property, ask your property manager to send all the emails to an address, and then everything drops into you get your emails as per normal in your inbox, but everything else goes into your Inndox account. A copy of everything is stored in there.
Okay.
So that everything just gets auto filed. So that's pretty handy too. And you can share it then, so you share it with the property manager, the files like warranties and manuals and plans, and then they can share that with the tenant. And then when the tenant leaves, they just unshare it and then share it with the next tenant. So there's no more photocopying of manuals and worrying about who's going to have that manual or that USB stick, or you can just share it with whoever you need to.
It just sounds painful. I run a very paperless office here, don't own a printer, and I love that. I couldn't imagine having to photocopy things. I just refuse.
Yeah, good for you. Like, well, I think everyone's getting a bit more conscious about looking after our environment, and that's good. And we'd like to
it's
think
environment, not wasting time.
Not wasting time, not wasting
things
paper.
that can get lost, things that then you've got to store.
Yeah.
It's just, it makes sense. So where to from here? I did notice that the Queensland government has just given you a grant.
They have. That's very kind of them. So
Very
it's just been announced. I had my kids said to me, Dad, that's cool. The Queensland government just gave you 100,000, and we're like, they don't actually give you money. It's an exchange. It's like you have to commit to doing a whole lot of work, and then they will fund that. So we've committed to. We've already been on a regional tour around Queensland, helping builders and developers understand best practice.
Okay.
Some of the things we've been talking about, and we've had a good response from that. And we've had more builders coming on board to our platform and developers. And so, further part of that is we're creating some new jobs for interns and other people, and we'll also be exploring other markets too to see if we can take Inndox internationally.
Yeah.
So that's part of
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. So we're looking at the UK market, but there's a lot more work to do in Australia. But there's equally some other opportunities for us to scale.
Definitely. Okay, well, that's great. So what I'd like to do now is actually run through how the system works.
Cool.
We'll just do a screen recording of that. And how can people contact you if they want to contact you and learn more about best practice or Inndox?
Yeah,
Should they just contact through LinkedIn or?
Yeah, just they can always reach out on LinkedIn. Email's fine. Just visit inndox.com, have a look. If you want to reach out to me, it's just andrew@indox.com, inndox.com.
Okay.
Just check us out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go.
All right, let's do it. Thanks. Okay, so let's have a look at logging in. Okay, so what we're looking at here is what we call the owner dashboard. So this is what an owner would receive. So once a builder, real estate agent, or an owner created their own account, once they can put in the address, then they will come in and view their property. So you can see you've got a nice picture of the property, a rendering, and the details. So you can view that. So for this one, the developer logo can be front and central, or it could be the builder's logo, and that branding stays on the app and it's there for every future owner to see as well. So that way the builder branding lives on.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing. It's almost worth the investment just in that.
It's pretty cool marketing actually,
Yeah.
because then all the reminders about whether it's, down here you can see maintenance requirements that we talked about. So if we just have a look at these, you can see, okay, there's, clean the aircon filter, the allergy filter. Who knew there were so many filters on an aircon? And then you've got...
I did not.
You've got a requirement to clean the oven to maintain warranties and things, to dishwasher filters, cooktops have to be cleaned out, smoke detectors need to be serviced and maintained. So all these sort of things can be added. And this isn't all. There's actually a lot of things you need to know to maintain. Now, of course, if an owner chooses to ignore these reminders and alerts, that's cool. They can ignore them. But if they want to be diligent and maintain them, that's fine, they can do that too. But the builder or developer has at least discharged their kind of responsibility to the owner by telling them. And a typical one could be even things like having an annual pest inspection done, stuff like that. So an owner, once they get it too, they could add their own maintenance item here and just put this in. So let's just go back and have a look at the dashboard.
Okay, and so this maintenance checklist also can be shared to your property managers and or like family members or something if you went away for a year.
Yeah, so you can just share this. You can share your Inndox account with someone else to have a look at, but you've got to make sure they're a trusted person. But one thing is, when the builder does the handover, for example, or developer, and they hand over all these documents here. So these are folders that contain all the different PDF files and photos and other things, and it could be project documents, building certificates, warranties, whatever. Once the builder does the handover, the owner or person using it cannot delete those, because that's really important for the integrity, that they can't be deleted.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It is.
I was
cool.
wondering what could happen with that if someone could accidentally still remove documents, but no, so they're permanent. Yeah,
so you don't have the option to you can like open a folder. I'm going to probably choose one where so you can see here's some appliance warranties, for example, in here, and you can have a look at your actions. So you can download it. You can set a warranty expiry for it. You can rename it, but you can't delete it. So some PDF files have funky names like 145683 BAZ, and you just may want to name it so that it's air conditioning or something.
So you actually know what it is.
Name, and then so you know what the heck that is. And this is where a builder or developer who wants to stand out. See, builders and developers are all building what they think is a unique product, but they're not really thinking much about how is the person. They're thinking up to the point of the sale and not caring after the sale. Whereas the after sale service is really where it's at. And if a developer or builder can make an owner's ownership easier and the selling of that asset easier, and easier for the next owner, they get a really good reputation for them as a developer, a really good reputation for that building in particular, and it just makes it so much easier for the building, say for the building manager, because they can quickly go and find out what kind of light fitting was broken to easily replace it, or whether that carpet had the light colour scheme or the dark colour scheme. So if they have to replace carpet, they know the type to order. So it's just going to save a lot of time.
Yeah, so it's a big point of difference, and post sales service, and just keeping your branding as a trusted and respected entity, really.
Yeah, and Inndox is new enough that if builders and developers jump on and use it soon, they're getting a bit of a competitive advantage. And in fact, we're talking to a big developer in Sydney who's seeing the benefit of a lot of fear out there about cracks and leaks and cladding.
It's all in the news.
It's in the news. So what they're doing is being able to reassure buyers that they've got all the approvals and peer reviews and so forth. So anyway, you can see here that it's set in warranty. So you can add warranty alerts here. And if you're an owner, you can just simply upload more files, just drag and drop them, and you can upload more warranties. So if we just go back, builders can put some articles down. Let's look at files. So you might have a welcome letter, moving in checklist, things like that. and you've got contacts. So if I'm an owner and I've bought into this property, I've got the details of the project manager, strata, architect, certifier, and so forth. And builders and developers underestimate how much confidence this gives a buyer. If you're buying a property and all this is shared with you, you feel really comfortable that there's so much transparency. You feel, hey, I know the people involved behind this project, I've got their name, their number, and they're not worried about being called because they know they're delivering a quality product. This sort of transparency is what people want today, and it's going to really help them stand out, and it just makes owning it that
Such
much
a great
easier.
feature. I love a contact sheet. Love it.
Contact sheet is good on a job, but also, you know what, for the builder, how can the builder remember who was on a particular job? What architect, did I use Joe or did I use Mary? Well, who was the architect that I actually used? At least they can also remember by just going into Inndox. And some records as a builder you have to keep for 120 years, like asbestos records. So how are you going to do that? It's easier if you just let us take care of it. So this is email. So this is where we talked about owners can set up to automatically have emails come in from property managers and the like. And here you can see the warranty reminders that have been set up. So yeah, that's just an overview of the dashboard. And for the builder, it looks kind of similar, and they can just go in here and just easily drag and drop and create this in their own dashboard. So they get a company account to do that. And an owner can add other properties if they've got rental properties, so you can just have one for each property.
Okay, so you just have one account and you can have separate properties on there.
Yeah. So if you have, say, 5 properties, you just log into your dashboard here, and so if you come to here, you can just add another property. So you just put in the address, property type, and off you go, and you can add more properties to it. So there, that's how that works.
That's exciting. So what if I wanted to, I had a property and I got a town planning approval? How would I put that into the system?
Yeah. So what you do is you just go to upload file here. You just click upload, and you just drag and drop it in here. So you just download it from your email and drag and drop it straight in. You can even do it on your phone. You can take photos and put them straight in. So for example, let's say I've just had a property handed over and I've moved in. I can just go into upload file, and I can just take photos on my phone and just upload them all. So I can record things like serial numbers of appliances, I can take photos of my furniture, all those things, even jewelry, and put them on there for insurance claims.
Yeah, that's really good.
I had a client say to me that he actually recently had to claim on insurance, and they asked for the serial numbers of all the appliances. And who has that? Who would keep that?
That's like a weirdo person would do that.
That's someone who's pretty detail orientated, I would have thought. And anyway, but if you can, it's a rainy day and you're adjusting your sock drawer, maybe you could go around and take photos. But this is what we think. One of the cool things for a developer is if they set it up for they can set this up for one unit. It takes a couple of hours to set this up for one unit, and then we have a feature called cloning, so they can just make like 20 or 200 copies, so that then, and just all they do is rename the unit number. So that way, it just, instead of a handover maybe taking a couple of weeks, they can do it all in just, less than a day.
It's amazing.
So it's handy for them at the handover, but it's really about staying in touch and providing that after-sales service to not only that first owner, but the next owner. And they might have 2 different owners during even the first 12 months. So it really helps to keep that continuity. So yeah, we're really proud of Inndox, and it's there for architects, builders, developers, and for homeowners. Yeah. And
what sort of pricing point are we looking at the moment?
Okay, so Inndox costs $150, and that gets access so if an owner does it, $150, and they get access for 7 years.
Bargain.
And then after, it's less than $20 a year.
It's nothing.
That's not too bad for your property records. If this is most properties are a pretty expensive asset, so less than $20 a year to maintain it for the 7 years. After that, it reverts to just $24 a year. And for a developer, they pay $150 per property. And again, the owner gets access for 7 years, and the developer or builder, they get access forever. So
Yeah.
they can always go in and find out who are the trades that worked on it, who are the consultants, what was the details. So if they ever get asked a question, they don't have to go searching through their system. They just simply open the app and they can, because this works equally well on a mobile phone, they just open it up and they can have it in their hand to answer the question straight away.
No, that's I think a very reasonable price point and way cheaper than having to go and ask all the councils and government bodies for the documents again.
Yeah, well, if you had to ask the councils once, the fee's about $180 for some of these property searches and can be more. We want to make it affordable, and so $2 a month is what it costs really ongoing, which is pretty affordable for when you consider the value of the asset that you're maintaining.
Well, you can't even get a cup of coffee for that, so
you're
getting a Mount Franklin bottle of water, maybe not even a whole one.
You're right. Can't get a good cup of coffee. Maybe a Night Owl cup of coffee.
Yeah, I think they're $1. You get 2 Night Owl coffees.
2 Night Owl coffee.
7-Eleven, I think they're $1.
7-Eleven, yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah. Not a coffee snob, but just saying it is. So $2 a month is what it costs, and that way you can, just really maintain your asset and just make it really easier at that sale time. And I do believe in the future people are becoming more sophisticated, more demanding. It's becoming a lot more common in the industry for real estate agents to be asked for history of approvals and what plans have you got, and for developers to be asked to justify things.
Yeah, well, I guess people are seeing things go wrong, so now everyone becomes a bit more savvy, don't they?
They do, and even if they're not asking for it, they're going to have a bit of concern, and if you can give them that peace of mind up front and be transparent, I think there's a lot of value in that. And we've got a few builders around Australia using Inndox in different states. We've got a few builders using Inndox already, and property developers, and we're growing. So if anyone would like to have a chat, come and talk to us.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I love it. It's such a great product, and I can't wait to share it with everyone.
Thanks very much, Jessica.
No worries.
Cool.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.